Good afternoon and welcome to this lovely little session we've got on the open mic. And this week we are very lucky to have Shelley on with me for hopefully half an hour or so. And we're going to have a little bit of a chat about life, trading, and anything else in the middle. What I was sort of thinking, Shelley, and thanks ever so much for coming on, Shelley. And I know you're very busy. I know you're always logged in, but you're like a lot of people. You're coming and going a lot, aren't you? So I
Yes, yeah.
appreciate finding, saying, okay, I've definitely got some time there. I can afford half an hour there. So thanks again for coming on. And it's actually, I was thinking about what we were going to be talking about, and I mean, Shelley, just so people know, is a long-term member. I think you started in about 1927, didn't you?
Somewhere around there.
So,
Yeah,
but
about
I
15
didn't
years, I think.
15. I thought it was more than that, but yes, roughly. Yeah, okay, yeah. Thinking about it, yeah, okay. 2007, yeah, it makes sense. So, what I thought was I didn't want to go through that format of how did you get into it and all of that. I thought what would be nicer because you've been around for a long time anyway is to maybe just focus on, let's say, the last decade. Because as you know, with me, Shells, you've seen me change in what I do, from doing so much, aggressive trading years ago to sitting back and doing what I do nowadays. I thought it'd be quite nice to just have a chat regarding your transition because you've had a lot going on in your life as well over the last decade or so, and just to talk about a few things just generally. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about, by all means, but could we start off just having a bit of a chat about, if you think about the last, let's say, decade, how trading has had to change for you, and in what way has it changed for you around your life and whatever goes on with your life? So if you, by me, talk about a little bit like that.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, let me just rip all my notes up because I made notes on the beginning.
See, I did warn you. You could have had a chat with me beforehand. We are literally going cold, aren't we?
Anyway,
So, yeah.
yes, for me, it took me several years to get to a point where I thought I turned the corner, and from the beginning, it's a minimum of 5 years before I felt that I was actually achieving something. And it wasn't a defined day, it was something that I thought, yes, I've got this now. And I was profitable for a few months and then gave it back again and essentially was chopping sideways. And that must have happened several times. And each time it happened, it was more disappointing because I was frustrated to try and achieve what I wanted to achieve. And I can't even tell you at what point that sort of was a definite turnaround, but I know it took at least 5 years for me to get to that point of starting to make a little bit of money. Um, for me, outside influences have had a massive impact on my journey as a trader. Health, uh, getting divorced, kids' problems with health, hospital trips, etc. And each time anything major like that happens, I had to step back from trading because mentally I found it too difficult to focus and trying to keep too many balls up in the air, sort of thing. So that over the years has been a little bit of a roller coaster. And as you know, I've taken time out here and there for different things. Um, But yeah, at the beginning, I was just trading the indices, didn't trade forex at all, and traded along with yourself in quite an aggressive sort of day trading style, and eventually sort of evolved where the rooms there, because there was a separate forex room, wasn't there, and trading room, and they sort of merged eventually. And I sort of kept adapting my working hours around that so that I could do what I wanted to do with the trading. And as I'm in a fortunate position that I do work for myself, so I just keep manipulating things around my life and around trading to try and be available for everything.
Yeah.
At the moment, I do a lot of admin work, so I'm working in the office and I've got the trading at the same time. So I'm sort of sometimes, well, most of the time I'm very quiet because I'm doing other things as well as trading. But
Yeah.
from going from aggressive day trading, over the time I've evolved into swing trading, really. In the main, I take the odd day trade, but in the main, I'm swing trading now,
And
and
how
that
do you?
suits me.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you find that?
Yeah, it suits me because um, a lot of the time I don't know when my time is going to get pulled in another direction. So it swing trading, obviously it's not as precise. You don't have to be there to trade off of a 15-minute chart, for instance. I mean, obviously it's great when you can, but now I'm more sort of do my analysis and pick out the levels and just set orders if I know I'm going to be busy, or if I can
Yeah.
be there, all the better, because I can get precise entry, etc. But a lot of the time, I'm not doing that.
And within you, if you just, like you said, that's been I assume a relatively gradual transition over this last, let's say, decade.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And
I mean, for a long time, I was trading off of a 5-minute, 15-minute chart. I'd never have a 5-minute chart open now. The lowest I go to is a 15-minute. I mostly trade off the hourly chart.
you know what's happening, Shelley, don't you? We're just
That's
getting
just going to
old.
go to daily.
We're just
Yeah.
getting old together.
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah,
But you
we
have to
can't
do what
tell
you're
a 30
capable
year
of
old.
doing.
We can't tell our 30-year-old members this. We just keep this to ourselves.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
but what would you say? So now, and obviously we all evolve as traders. Our lives evolve, as you've sort of hinted at. Work and other life events. That you've had. So where do you? So you, yeah, your trading has evolved, but where can you foresee? The next 5 years or 10 years. Do you see it evolving again, or do you feel like you've reached as
um,
far as that balance is concerned, a nice balance and a maturity of trading that or do you still say, actually, wouldn't surprise me if I trade like this in the next 5 years or whatever?
well, I feel very comfortable with what I'm doing right now and with the time that I have, and I have a real routine. Who knows what's going to happen? And the thing I like about it is you can adapt. And so if something does come along, I might have to change. But I'm very happy and comfortable with what I'm doing right now and how it fits in with my work and family. And my children are now grown up, so although I've still got two of them living with me, uh,
Oh,
they're not so dependent on my time. So that allows me to work in a different way than I used to a few years back.
yeah.
Uh,
And
I
and you
can't
have
see that changing.
grandchildren as well, don't
I've
you,
got
to
3
be?
grandchildren as well. Yeah, that makes me feel old. So I try to create some time for them as well. So yes, it's a
And
balancing act, isn't it?
but tell us a little bit about your duathlons that you do. And is it duathlons or triathlons?
Well, I badly attempt triathlons. I do the odd duathlon. I mean, for me, sport again is something that really helps me mentally, and it gives me my time, and keeps my health hopefully as good as can be. And I love being around positive people. I love being around sporty people because they just have a can-do attitude, and I just find that rubs off when you're with those type of people. So you know. I'm never going to be on the podium with these triathlons. My next one is I'm doing Windsor in June,
That's a
doing
nice
an
one, that one,
Olympic
isn't it?
distance, yeah, triathlon. But unfortunately, I've had a few health issues this last month, so it's put my training back. So I'm probably going to struggle around that course, but I'll go anyway. I know I can complete it, but I just won't be doing the times that I wanted to do. But never mind. That's just how it is. It's my one that has proved difficult because I entered to do the June Windsor Triathlon 3 years ago, and
Yeah.
it got deferred because of COVID, and then they deferred it again because of COVID, and so it's on this year. But now I've had a sort of problem with my training. So, but anyway, I'm determined to do it. I'm stubborn, so I'm going to go and complete it anyway. So
Let's talk about that then. Stubbornness. Is that something that's always been with you?
yes, absolutely. I'm a very stubborn person, and I think that helps a lot with trading actually,
Hmm.
because my stubbornness sort of kept me going when I wasn't profitable, and I thought, no, I will get this, and I kept going, and it was the stubbornness, I think, that was the driver,
Yeah.
as well as a nagging sister, of course.
But yeah, and absolutely, that's why I asked that question, because you sort of need that stubbornness to see you through those early years, don't you? You're absolutely right.
Yes,
Um,
I think so. And I think what also helped me, as I say, I've always worked for myself, and my family have always run businesses, and so we're very used to being not being paid, at the end of the month or whatever. But we've always worked in a way that as long as you're making money over the year, and that's fine, that you've got down months, you've got profitable months. And I think
mm.
having come from that, that was a less painful lesson for me,
Because it was quite a
with
cyclical
trading.
business, wasn't
Yeah, yeah. And I think I just adapted to that. Obviously, it's more difficult for people that don't come from that, and they just used to getting paid for the hours they do. I'm used to working for free
it? Yeah,
for a
yeah.
lot of the time, and I don't count my hours. I just do what I need to do, and I think that sort of attitude helps when you do. When you've got that experience, it does help for sure.
So okay, so what we're doing here naturally is we're drawing parallels here. So we're taking what you've already been saying. So your background from having your own business with your sister over the years and yourself, you has helped you with regards to trading. This natural stubbornness, is there any, can you think back as to where that comes from? Is it just a genetic thing from one of your
I think I
parents,
was
or
born that way.
right?
I've always been very stubborn. Yes, yeah.
Was it just
Once
the
I've
two
made
of
my
you?
mind up on something. Sorry,
Was it
is
just,
it
is it
just?
just you? Is it
No, I
is it
have a
just you and
brother as
Jackie,
well.
or
So
are you the
no,
youngest?
I'm the youngest. I've got an older brother and
Right.
an older sister.
Oh, that
My
explains it.
mum and my dad and my brother run a business together. And myself and
Right.
my sister ran a business together for a while, but we run it separately now. But
Mm.
yeah,
But I just wonder, being the youngest, they often say the youngest have their own character traits as well. That need to prove themselves and stuff. And don't know if
yeah.
there's
Out of the three of us, I think I was probably, well, I am. I'm the most easygoing, the most sort of laid back, and my brother and sister are definitely more feistier and pushy. But
um,
yeah,
but that's interesting, because, like you say, you're more easygoing, laid back. So you would be what I would call, from the book Warriors, Settlers, and Nomads. You'd be like a settler character, but a settler character is very amiable and very easy to get on with. But the one of their character traits is, fun enough, the ability to really dig in when they need to. And so they're, on the surface, and 90% of the time, very nice and, like I said, amiable, but actually you don't want to upset them in that 10% of the time.
yeah.
But anyway, we won't go there.
But when I lose my temper, I lose my temper, but I don't lose it very often. Maybe
Mm,
every couple of years, literally. But when I do, yeah, you don't want to speak to me. I mean, the big thing I remember from the beginning, when I took my first bad losing trade, and I think we probably told you this story over the Goldman Sachs trade. I mean, I was completely naive, and I'd stuck. We'd been on a couple of courses, literally myself and Jackie, and we put £1,000 in this trading account each. Had an account and thought we had, we was going to make so much money, etc. so naive, and we picked out these big stocks because we thought we had the best chance of making money. So we was trading things like Apple and Goldman Sachs, and we didn't even know it was FOMC. And we saw this, in the day we'd seen it trending up, Goldman Sachs. We thought, oh, well, it's going up, we'll buy it. And we put whatever stake it was. I don't even think we put a stop in. I can't remember now. But I remember thinking, yeah, it's going up really fast. And I thought, oh, great. So I went off and cooked the dinner with the family. And then Jackie phoned me, she went, it's crashing, it's crashing. And so I went upstairs. I looked at the computer and I was £800 down. Because obviously it shot up and then shot back down, and then so I just closed the trade, and I absolutely felt sick and I was so angry, but I had to go back down and just pretend everything was okay to my family because I didn't want to admit what had happened. But I didn't want to speak to people for days, and that's when I get angry, that's what happens with me. I just wouldn't speak to anybody. I didn't look at a chart for two days after that, because I literally blew the account within seconds on this one trade. But I
Yeah.
look back and laugh at that now and think, how funny that was and how naive we were.
Yeah. Yeah, of
It
course.
did
Well, you picked
lesson.
a good stock.
Yeah.
You picked a
Yeah.
mover.
Oh, dear.
But so yeah, so drawing some more on your, so what we've got is a recipe that's going on here of that you've got that natural stubbornness, which may, like you said, just be genetics. That's, like you said, has always been there. That's something within you that helped you over those early years. Um, but also the fact that you, having a business, you're used to uncertainty and all of that, like you've said. So it meant that the erratic nature of trading and sits okay with you, because you don't, you're like, well, I'm used to this with my business, where, like you said, whereas someone who's got a job is used to a consistent pay packet, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the final ingredients, or certainly now, is what you've just said earlier about sports. So what do you get? Do you find yourself, I haven't really thought about triathlon, what you're doing with that, but do you find that your sports and your sporty mind helps you as well, and in which ways do you find it helps you?
Sorry, there
That's
was
Heathrow Airport there.
yes, I do, because with sport, it's a similar thing, isn't it? That you just have a target that you want to achieve, and you train and you keep going and you talk to others, and you just gain. For instance, if you want to get faster at cycling, you're talking to the other members, and then you go off and you do what they say with the interval training or resistance training, or whatever it is, to improve yourself. And it's a similar thing. That's why I love the room, because everyone's chatting in here, and the range of knowledge of different people in here is just great. And so you can bounce off of each other and learn, and that's something that, yeah, I suppose comes from sport. Um,
And do you find that 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 especially, have you always competed, or is this something that's happened to you in the more recent past? Had you
no,
competed in other things before?
I was from school. I was always playing sport, and I was always in the teams and county sport and doing different things. And then for a long time, in from sort of 20s to maybe early 30s, I didn't really do anything because my life was just a mess at that point. Um, and I got back into it later in my 30s, but obviously different things. When I was younger, I was playing hockey and netball and just different athletics and things like that. So it was always competitive. But always enjoyed, I was always an outdoor person, always enjoyed being outside.
And so, do you feel that that's given you another? I don't want to lead you on this, which I'm doing because I just love sport myself. But do you feel that that's helped you with regards to any aspects of your trading, and what aspects of trading would you say that it's helped you?
Um, I think a sort of never say die sort of attitude, that when you have a losing run, you know that you just got to keep training or keep learning to achieve what you want. So if a football team goes and has a losing match, that's just part of it, isn't it? You can't win every single one. So when you're doing sport, that mentality does help for sure, and it also helps, I think, in other aspects of life, not just in trading.
Mm,
It gives you a sort of a good basis.
yeah, and so where you're at now, and it sounds like you've still got loads going on in your life, like you've just said, some frustrations recently that you couldn't be able to train for this June try. But do you feel where do you feel trading now sits in your life? Because you've been on your own 15-year journey with trading, which sometimes it's probably been very large part of your life and sometimes probably less, as you've said. So
Mm.
where does it sort of fit within, Shelley Smith's life now?
It's definitely something I'm doing on a daily basis, and I find that the hours I can put in, I'm coming back and forward all of the time. I have to, but early morning I'm around and I do my analysis, and I'm here until about 9, and then I have to go to work for a couple of hours. I'm usually back late morning, and then I generally am around in the afternoons, but sometimes I can be a bit back and forward, but that's okay because most of the, yeah, I tend to sort of make all
Done.
my major decisions in the morning, and then, to see how things develop. But because I'm only missing for a couple of hours in the morning, and then I come back and I'm maybe waiting for that 4 hour candle to finish, that's the way I'll look at it now. I'll sort of, okay, I'm not ready to place a trade at the moment, but I'll have a look at 12 o'clock, and then if it's looking a certain way, then I'll, wait on the hourly and get an entry or something.
Yep.
So I sort of make those decisions, and I'm happy with where it is. I spend a few hours. It's not my full time job. It's a
No.
little top up for me. Um,
And do you find, I mean, God, I'm asking you a closed question again, but what about the mental side of of trading? How do you feel about that? How do you deal with it? What are the
I actually
mental elements
enjoy
for
it
you that you find?
as
Mm,
I like the mental challenge because my job is very boring, and I've been doing it for so long. It's just, it's just so
mm,
boring, and so I like the stimulation of it. But having said that, when I've got a lot of other things going on in my life, I do step back. I take the foot off with the trading because I feel that I can't focus enough. I can feel that in myself. So rather than trade and, stress out about it, I'll just think, okay, look, I've got a lot on. Just watch the charts. Don't make any, it doesn't matter. There'll be another trade in next week. You just leave it as it is, and just watch and watch the price, and that's what I do. So I'm very, very laid back with it these days. I'll maybe go a couple of weeks and not take any trades. Um, yeah. So
and because it is like that, isn't it? You have pockets of activity, yeah, through the
yeah,
year.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Um,
uh, yeah. But that's
because
why,
there's going to be
it does fit in great because I can adapt. So
Yeah, and there's going to be times through the year which suit you more, where you feel whether it's you've got more time, or it's just the way the markets are moving that you're just much more into those particular markets at that time, and so you're busier, and then you'll go through periods where you've got lower interest levels because the market is behaving maybe in a different way as well.
yeah, yeah. Was it um was it in 2019 when the euro just chopped sideways for
Mm.
forever.
Mhm.
And then literally, I used to sit and think, what am I doing? I'm looking at, there's nothing to do here because it's just not moving anywhere.
40 pip range daily. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was,
so that's frustrating when I have got the time, but there's nothing going on. But as you say, it's just all part of it, isn't it?
but and again, the benefit of hindsight, the benefit of having these experiences, like you say, you've traded through that now. That's now in your back pocket for these periods that we do experience. Like you said there in sort of 2000, late 18 and into 19, where it was, like you say, low volatility, and you've now got that as an experience for as and when periods like that happen again, because then when you're in the middle of those periods, okay, I've been here before, the markets will sort itself out. Now in the
Yeah.
past you have to be told that by me, don't worry about it, but it's once you've got it yourself, you it makes it in the future that much easier, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The more you see, the more and you don't always get it first off. You have to see these things
Mm.
over and over.
I remember
Um,
the summer of 2014, which was went really really quiet. I still talk about it. I know that April of 2014, straight after Easter, the markets never picked up. They had a good first quarter, and then from an intraday perspective, they were just really quiet, and it was quiet, And so,
yeah.
but you just have to remind people, yeah, look, that's the way that markets can go. But you can't walk away for 4 months and come back to it. It'd be ideal if we could, but everything goes. Your knives lose their sharpness, don't they, if you do that?
Well, exactly. You need to keep looking at the markets, keep watching it, because at some point they will start to move again, and then you need to have that history knowledge to see what's been happening every day.
Mm,
So even if
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't do too much, I'm always looking at the charts and keeping
It's the
keeping in the loop,
subtleties,
as
isn't
it
it,
were.
as well?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So, what sort of when you're swing trading now? So, what types of swing trades are your favorite types of, if you do have a favorite type? But do you have a favorite type of setup or strategy, dare I
Um,
say, or whatever?
I think obviously you've trained me, so it's it's what we're doing all the time. But if you're looking and everything's lined up, if you've got it all lined up on the monthly and the weekly and the daily, and then you're sort of scrolling down and it just sets up like a peach, on the 4 hour, and you just got so much confidence in those trades. It might be sitting on sort of resistance, and then you've got the divergence, and you've got trend lines or support lines there, and you think, okay, look, once this closes above the bands or above a moving average, and I trade those every day, all day long. Um, Obviously, some fail, of course they do, but they're the
Yeah,
ones that I love when you've got it really lined up. But I'm generally the lowest time frame I trade off now is an hourly
yeah,
chart.
yeah. Which does make it, you're not so worried about, oh, I've got to go out for a few hours. It doesn't matter anymore, does it?
No, no, I'm just thinking I'll look at it in the morning and think, well, okay, if that closes up above its bands, then I'll be in. And it's as simple as that. Or,
And every pip
you
doesn't
know,
matter so much.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
you're not
it.
trying to use tiny stops and things with day trading, and that's, I think, caused me a lot of issues because you're trying to just be so tight. And of
Mm,
course, you get a lot more stop outs.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the risk rewards can be all right depending on what you're doing with it, but yeah, every pip counts, and that, I think, that's the harder thing, that you're when you're day trading. And don't get me wrong, we've got people who are day trading and do rather well. But
Yes.
it's just that intensity. And like you said, when you look at the balance of your life, three grandchildren, about 203 uh, grandnephews and nieces, and and your business. How many grandchildren has Jackie got now?
Oh, eight.
A few. 8, right, yeah.
Yeah,
So I knew it was a
yeah,
lot. Yeah. So yeah, you've got a busy life and it has to fit in with that as well. And it sounds like you're in a good place with it.
yeah. It's been a journey. It's been a roller coaster journey because different times, there's been different things that I've had to do. As you know, I've had to take time out
Mm,
and things like that. But that was the right thing for me because you can only hold so many balls up in the air sometimes. And when I find with trading, I really, really do need to be able to focus and be emotionally neutral. That's the key for me because if I'm stressed about something else, my trading will suffer. And I'm fine. I can take on a lot of, fair amount of stress, and it's fine. But once that tips the balance, like when I went through a messy divorce, for instance, I knew I had to step back from the trading
yeah.
because I was
Yeah.
too emotionally up the wall at that time.
Too angry.
But too angry.
As you said.
I was very angry.
Okay.
Mm.
If you can afford us another just a 3 or 4 minutes,
Yeah, no,
I
I'm
just
I'm good.
thought,
I was busy
yeah,
beforehand, which is why I had to come on later. But
could we? Can I just see if there's any questions from the room? If anyone wants to ask you a question it's quite nice to see if there's anyone wants, because sometimes people say, "Oh yeah, I'd like to ask," just whatever
yeah, yeah,
a
sure.
question it might be. So we'll see if anyone wants to ask a question to Shelley. Then by all means, fire away. But whilst we wait on that, my next question to you is: Are you coming to our coffee morning in September if it's not on a weekend where you've got a triathlon or whatever?
No, I'll come. I think Sam sent emails through. I'm away at the end of August, but I'll be back for that date. I think. Yeah. Is it going to be at Heathrow? Do you think, or
It the
London?
initial I haven't said, but yes, Sam and I have been having a little competition, you see, because Sam was like, "Oh no, people all want to go into London because then they can get on the train." And for me, it's actually personally, it's easier to go to Heathrow because I can just drive down and I haven't got to get on a train. And bearing in mind, on a Saturday morning, there's not as many trains running. And anyway,
Mm,
fortunately, a much larger majority thus far have said they would prefer it to be at a Heathrow hotel. So yes, it'll probably be at the Crown Plaza.
yeah, yeah.
Drive in, drive out, yeah, sort of
Well,
thing.
I'm 10 minutes from Heathrow, so it suits me.
I know we can hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it works. Well, it doesn't look like we've got everyone's. Maybe I've just asked all the questions that people were thinking, and so not seeing any questions coming in. So they've so we're looks like, oh no, Diane's typing now. So we'll just see here.
I think so, Sam. Yes. I caught the bug on my first seminar and I've never stopped since,
The
really.
question, sorry, the question was, will you trade forever? For people watching the recording because they won't see the questions. So the answer is yes.
Till my brain starts going, I suppose, when I get a bit
Do you know
older.
what? Shells, I had a conversation with Beamer like over 10 years ago that and genuinely, if I lost my eyesight, how would I trade? And
Mm,
so literally we had this conversation years ago that I would then employ him to basically be my eyes. And when you think about like you've just said about getting older, but nowadays you could get brow charts and all sorts, couldn't you? So um,
probably, yeah,
y-
yeah.
yeah, so
And in a few
there's
years'
ways around.
time, who knows?
Well, yeah, exactly. Oh, that's nice. I'm just going to read that out, Diane, for the people who are watching the recording here. Diane said, "I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your journey, and what you said about sport, and he's saying that he can relate 100% to it. So that's a nice comment. Right then, Shelley, I'm going to love you and leave you. And I said that I didn't want to take
Okay.
up too much of your time as well, but it was just I've been wanting you to come on the mic for ages, and I know you're busy and stuff as well. So thank you ever so much for coming on and just sharing a little bit, because you're always here, but they don't know, and I think it's just nice for our members to see this, like we've got other people that I want to come and join us on the mic on these sessions as well. It just, everybody, it's all about the community, like we've said here, that I just want this to be a building community where people get to know a little bit more about each other, and where by doing these little sessions like we do here, that people are like, okay, I now know a little bit about shells. And so thank you ever so much for coming on and sharing some
No,
of
no problem.
your experiences. Right. Okay. Well, thanks for listening in, guys, as well, guys and girls, to Shelley there. The parables I took was that from listening to Shelley there was her, that tenacity that she's had, that stubbornness, as we often talk about, that we have to have in trading. It took her that first 5 years of ups and downs and sideways, and just when she thought she was getting it, there it goes sideways again or whatever. um and but that stubbornness, the flexibility in her life, the fact that maybe having businesses throughout her working life, and that uncertainty with having businesses maybe married up quite nicely with the uncertainty of the markets as well, plus that whole sporting, as she said, about being, the positivity she takes from sport, but also the workings out of, if she wants to become a better rider, what does she need to do? She'll spend time with people who are good riders, and that's what she was saying about being in the community as well. So even to this day, she still like seeing what people have to say within the room here and in these sessions. So I think there's some nice takeaways from that session there. But I'm going to press stop on the recording now, and thank you for everyone for listening in there over this lunchtime session. I'll get it put up. That's a lovely session there through this. I can see the euros being on the move a little bit more while we've been chatting. But we will come back to that later. There's not really much for me to do right now. They're doing the right thing, unless we go and have a big risk off session this afternoon and they just give back all the gains. So it ain't over until the close, I guess. So I'm going to love you and leave you myself. And but I'll be, oh yeah. Well, I'm back on at 6 p.m. tonight for the Traders Clinic. May pop on at 5 as well, just for a quick of a catch up, or in between now and then. May pop back on, but I'll leave you in peace for now.